Hello, welcome to Plus Sports on Plus TV Africa. I am your host, Mikhail Tinubu. It's Wednesday, and of course, we still have AFCON going on, and we have my esteemed friend on the line via Zoom, Victor Godfrey, to speak to you and me about what's going on in Cameroon. Victor.
Good morning, Kai. Thank you for having me on the show. It's funny you said that because I can imagine that many Nigerians have lost interest since, given that the national team is no longer in competition.
Yes,
however, it's a bit of a very sad mood. The loss of life we had, the day before yesterday. As a matter of fact, I was in the stadium. On our way to the stadium, we saw the mammoth crowd. But our one view was that okay, maybe the Cameroons are really excited, and we didn't really mind. But once I noticed at a point, the crowd was really coming in, and I asked the local organizers, like, shouldn't we have like 50%? And they laughed at me and said that that's just CAF's, statement that, Cameroons always come for football match. I'm like, okay. Then after the game, we heard the sad news, and it was just really sad. It's still, the mood around Cameroon right now is still
I know exactly what you're talking about, and in fact, that is our first story, and let me get through it, and I'll come back to you. In the aftermath of the Stampede that killed at least 8 people during a football match in the Africa Cup of Nations in Cameroon's capital, Yaoundé, Patrice Motsepe, head of the Confederation of African Football, CAF, held a press conference to share his conclusions. Along with the 8 dead, 38 people were injured when fans stormed a stadium hosting a match between hosts Cameroon and Comoros. After offering his condolences to the victims' families, Motsepe said, "The first thing I'm going to ask for of the organization committee is the next match that is supposed to take place at Olimbe should not take place. The Stampede comes as a heavy blow for the tournament, which had grown in excitement on the pitch in recent days, thanks to some shock results. Images shared on social media showed a panicked crowd trying to squeeze through a narrow entrance gate at the newly built Olimbe Stadium. Sunday's quarterfinal, due to be held at the stadium, will now be moved to Amadou Ahidjo Stadium in Yaoundé instead." Victor, my first question was going to be, what is the mood in Cameroon? But you've already explained that there's a lot of sadness and a lot of somber reflection right now. Is there still any excitement to speak of for Cameroon's next match?
To be honest with you, no, because what was even shocking when we heard of the news in the media room that some people died, I was like, okay, well, I mean, it can't be that bad. But once we even came out, as fans were making their way back, we witnessed Cameroon win matches here in the Nations Cup, and the party goes on. Even you travel to another city and they are still singing and celebrating. But yesterday, you had people sitting down on the floors, on the streets. They were just so sad, and I was like, wow. This is serious. So the atmosphere is really not really that. It's not the way it was before that match. People are still grieving. Hopefully, I don't know what's going to happen. I can't really speak for the people of Cameroon, but so far so good. Nobody seems to be really excited anymore. The energy levels have just dropped. You can tell that it's as if Cameroon were knocked out of the Nations Cup. It's really sad.
Have you heard anything about the effect it's having on the team itself, the team spirit in Cameroon, the national team?
Well, the story we heard before we left Yaoundé yesterday was that the captain made the statement that Abubakar, the leading top scorer, by the way, by the Nations Cup, 6 goals, and he mentioned that safety comes first, and that of course the Indomitable Lions would try their best to win the competition for those that have lost their life. But he also said that the fans should just try as much as possible to be safe or exercise patience when they come to the stadium. And as a matter of fact, this was something I actually highlighted the very first day. The second day I was in Cameroon, that was during the opening ceremony. I spoke to the people I was with, and I was like, why are they all running towards the entrance? They said, well, they're excited to watch Cameroon play. I was like, yeah, but you don't have to run. You have to be there on match day. The excitement levels go to the roof when the national team is in action. So It's very sad. That's the message from, Abubakar. But like I said, we had to leave Cameroon to come back to Douala for today's fixture as well.
When
So
things
we
like
didn't stay
these
long.
happen, Victor, there's always blame to go around. Someone must be held accountable. What is the feeling
Yes.
on the ground as to who should have taken responsibility for this mess to prevent it in the first place?
To be honest with you, and I'm saying this with all due respect to the people of Cameroon, number one, number two, to the organizing committees, obviously even to CAF as well. But let's be honest with ourselves. We have this very negative uh, trademark in terms of African mentality. That mindset is still very prevalent here, unfortunately, in Cameroon. We talk about the COVID-19 rules. I can assure you those protocols are ceremonial at best. That's the honest truth. When I see people trooping to the stadium, I'm like, how are these guys allowed in with no face mask? Their COVID test can be forged. I mean, it's just what happened, day before yesterday is another, point. Proves that everybody's to blame. There's no one person. Security officials, the local organizing committee, the volunteers, CAP themselves, they are all to blame. For people like us, we are lucky because we go through the media, part of the media team, and we do our test actually before the matches. So we go through all those strict protocols. However, the fans, they just let them in, and the security levels are actually quite like what happened. It was quite shocking. I think they just let the whole entire gate open, and the crowd. It was remarkable. That's what
Well,
it is.
I am hoping that the families who have lost loved ones can find a way to get past this horrible tragedy.
It's actually
Now,
even sadder. It's actually sadder. Just to add to it, sorry to cut you off. To add to it, there were actually two children that lost their lives. They were both aged 4 years old, which is very sad. And you can imagine for a 4-year-old child, maybe perhaps coming to the competition for the very first time, going to watch his darling national team for the very first time. That is incredibly sad. Two children lost their lives during this stampede.
it
So
still baffles me when I hear
that's another
stories
thing.
about people dying from stampede. Usually I attribute it to a moment of panic in the crowd that leads to a loss of senses. But in this case, it was out of excitement, and they lost
It
their
was
senses and ended up committing such tragedy, such tragedy.
very sad. It's very, very sad.
Unfortunately, we do have to move on. I know this story will continue to be on the minds and hearts of many Cameroonians, but, we have to talk about other things. Sevilla have confirmed the loan signing of Manchester United forward Anthony Martial for the remainder of the season after the France international sealed his desired move away from Old Trafford on Tuesday, January 25th. The 26-year-old had started only 2 Premier League games this campaign, with his final appearance coming off the bench in the 1-0 win over West Ham United on Saturday, which now looks like a potential farewell for good. Martial joined United in the 2015-2016 season and scored 79 goals in 269 appearances, but had grown into an increasingly peripheral figure this season. United interim manager Ralf Rangnick had praised Martial for the way he had conducted himself after the weekend win over the Hammers, despite the forward making it clear he wanted to leave the club. Earlier in the month, Rangnick said Martial had refused to be part of the squad for the Premier League draw with Aston Villa, which the player denied. Sevilla are currently second in La Liga, 4 points behind leaders Real Madrid and 11 ahead of Barcelona. They will hope his goal can keep them in the hunt as they seek a first title success since 1945-1946 campaign. Martial has also played for Olympique Lyonnais and Monaco in Ligue 1 and was part of the France side that finished runners-up at the 2016 European Championship. However, he did not make the squad for the World Cup triumph in Russia in 2018. Now, of course, this player wants to play football. That's what every player in the profession wants to do. But I think the World Cup coming up this year is also a significant reason why this move was essential for him and why he had made it clear he needed to leave this January. Victor.
Well, in all honesty, the Anthony Martial story has been one of expectations and not really living up to the expectations. Now, I'm going to come from two angles because I'm actually a Manchester United fan, so I'll be sentimental a bit, but I'll also be objective as much as I can. The reality of the matter is that Martial, when he first popped, people didn't even realize that he actually won the Golden Boy award as well at one point in his career. So the potentials for him were up there. But unfortunately, I think it's a culture or a mentality at United that has kind of changed ever since Sir Alex Ferguson left, where players just feel okay, they're just comfortable. The drive and the hunger to do more isn't there. And unfortunately, in football, you can do that maybe in a certain area like in your football club, but you can't do that with the national team as talented as the French national team. That's why he hasn't really played much for the national team setup, even when they went to the World Cup and won it. So I think for him, maybe if he goes to Spain, a different mindset, a change of environment will maybe spur him on to perhaps not even fulfill his potential, because I feel like there's nothing really Martial can do now that will surprise anybody else.
Can it be said that the way the Manchester United board have been unable to find a consistent vision for the team is the reason why so many players have lost form, lost the will and desire and determination to live up to the expectations of playing at such a big club?
I agree with that. That is also one way of looking at it, because many times before in the past, people were talking about quality managers. People spoke about Moyes not being good enough. We had Van Gaal, who is a proven manager. He has won so many trophies, both on national team level, and of course at club level. He also was sacked. The great Jose Mourinho, in my own opinion, one of the best modern managers of all time, also was sacked. So it's not really about, you mentioned, is the board and the structure at United. There were many things that were glossed over due to the success of Sir Alex Ferguson. So while other clubs were restructuring, and making sure that they had things in place, structures in place to ensure, and maintain success, e.g. Manchester City, other clubs like United were still doing the United way. So I agree with that sentiment. The players, the entire structure at United doesn't really support, because you see great players come to United and then become average. A great example is a young man called Donny van der Beek. Before, that one wonderful season he had at Ajax with the rest of the likes of the young and the elite, were exceptional. He comes to United and he can't even play. He's struggling for minutes. You saw Alexis Sanchez come to United and struggle. Paul Pogba, in my own opinion, hasn't hit his potential at United. So the list is endless. There are many players that come to United and they struggle. That is because of, like I said, it's just the structure or the mentality or whatever it is that's going on at United. That's the issue. And I feel like Martial is a good move for him. I don't know if he will play for France at the World Cup. I don't know, because the attacking talent they have there is quite impressive.
Well, let's move on to some more transfer story. Juventus have agreed to sign Fiorentina striker Dusan Vlahovic in a deal worth 75 million euros, which is roughly 68 million pounds on Tuesday, January 25th. The deal would be the most expensive of the January transfer window so far, with Serie A's joint top scorer Vlahovic set to earn a reported 7 million euros per year in Turin. Fiorentina sporting director Daniel Prade said on Italian television on Monday night that the club's doors were open for offers, but set a price tag of 70 million euros. The Serbian, who joined the Florence club in July 2018, was named best young player in Serie A last season after scoring 21 league goals. He has continued that form with another 17 this season under new coach Vincenzo Italiano, a record matched only by Lazio's Ciro Immobile. Vlahovic's departure seemed inevitable after Fiorentina owner Rocco Commisso announced in October last year that the striker has turned down offers of an extension to his deal, which was set to expire in June 2023. Juventus are fifth in Serie A, 6 points ahead of seventh placed Fiorentina, with a game in hand. Victor, there's a lot that's come out about this striker. Obviously, a lot of people are taking a look at him. Manchester City, Arsenal, even Tottenham have read their head in there. And unfortunately for Fiorentina, the players seems to be more interested in going to a league rival. There is a significant enough rivalry between Fiorentina and Juventus that the Fiorentina fans will be absolutely mad to lose such a fantastic player to Juventus. But in previous public statements by the club, they made it clear that they had received offers from English teams, which suggested they were trying to direct him towards those offers and not towards Juventus. I think this has now made it clear that the onus and the decision to go to Juventus is on the player, not the club. Are Juventus going for a striker that they don't need, given the talents that they do have in their forward line?
Well, quite frankly, I see this signing as one for the future. Talking about the fans, just to add to that statement, they actually made death threats to him. As a matter of fact, it was a banner that had death threats towards strike. But as for Juventus going for a striker that you may think they don't need, I think they are playing what I'll call the Bayern Munich, whereby they sign off great talents from their rivals from the same league. I think for Juve, this is actually, personally, I think it's a good move because I think it's time for them to move. Look at the average age of some of the key players in their team. They're quite advanced. And I think the manager now is trying to rebuild. This season, in his own opinion, is gone. So I'm thinking this is like a starting for next season. They want to build a new Juventus. Don't forget, Ronaldo was there for a few years. Ronaldo is a spring chicken. You have Chiellini and a few other defenders who are quite advanced in age, and I feel like this is like a slow. This
actually highlights that the financial situation at Juventus isn't quite as bad as we might have previously thought. 75 million euros.
For sure, it's not bad at all. They do good business. I mean, they realize, okay, Ronaldo is getting older. We've had him for 2 seasons. He couldn't win the Champions League for us, which is the reason why technically they kind of signed him. They've made as much as they can make in terms of merchandise sales with jerseys because it's Ronaldo playing around. So they felt, okay, we can't keep paying this amount of money. Let's sell him or let's get rid of him. And they did. No sentiments attached. It was pure business. So Juventus actually in Italy, they're doing good business. You have to give them credit for that.
They do seem to be afraid of losing him to a potential team like Manchester City in the summer, which is why they've made a 75 million euro offer when the asking price was 70 million. But let's move on to this another story. It's been a successful year as Chelsea head coach for Thomas Tuchel, despite a recent dip in form since early December. The German replaced Frank Lampard on January 26th, 2021, with Chelsea languishing 9th in the Premier League table and led them to a top 4 finish with some excellent defensive displays. Despite an FA Cup final defeat to Leicester, Chelsea's season ended on the ultimate high after they defeated Manchester City in Porto to win only their 2nd Champions League trophy, which forged Tuchel's legend among Blues fans. The West London outfit started this season by winning the UEFA Super Cup and were the Premier League's early pace setters before losing top spot to Manchester City after some disappointing results. Despite the slip-up, though, Chelsea are still in contention for every competition this season, with an EFL Cup final and the FIFA Club World Cup on the horizon. Quick question. One, do you think Tuchel has been a success at Chelsea given his current situation, and will he last till next season?
So there are 2 criteria to determine a success at Chelsea. Number one is you have the point of view of the fans and perhaps the media. And you also have that of the Chelsea board and the owner, Mr. Vlahovic. So it depends. From my point of view, fantastic success. He has done well. We need Champions League and taking Chelsea to many cup finals and semi-finals and stuff like that.
But will he still be here next season?
That is exactly. So that's where it now comes to the second point of view. The board at Chelsea and the owner, they usually, you can literally win the World Cup, which is meant for the national team, as Chelsea, and still be sacked. That is a club that has zero tolerance for whatever their standards are. So I feel he has done well for Chelsea. Unfortunately, I would say poor form and maybe unrest in the dressing room has caused this season to tail off a bit in terms of Lukaku not really hitting the forms that we thought he would. Kante injuries and stuff like that. I mean, many things have happened, which is okay. It's part of football.
All right.
But if you look at the bigger picture, how he has given this club structure and an identity, Chelsea under Lampard before he left, they're two different teams. So I think Tuchel is actually a good manager. Yeah.
All right, Victor. Thank you for joining us today, and have a wonderful rest of your day. I know you're tired.
You're tired.
Thank you to everyone at home and at work for joining us on Plus Sports on Plus TV Africa. It's always a pleasure having you. My name is Mikhail Tinubu. Remember, life is never boring with some sports. Have a wonderful day.